Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our next episode of Unscripted. Today, we decided we're going to talk about finding our place in the world. It might go a little bit deep. We're not sure where it's going to go, but we both had several conversations this week, there's so much to it. There's so much going on in the world, and you can start questioning, like, what am I even doing with this? How is this relevant or how is this helping when there's this happening? But it's such an interesting time to, for so many different reasons, try and figure out what am I even doing and why am I doing it?
Yeah. And that's it. At the time of us having this conversation, the world is in like chaos, it feels like.
It feels like, but then again, that's another question that is like when something is not working and something comes apart, there is a chaotic dismantling before something new comes.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, this has just popped into my head. If you think about the caterpillar turning into a butterfly, we have a caterpillar. It has a fixed caterpillar type structure. It
Yeah.
goes into some goo, which could be the ultimate chaos.
Yeah.
And if the caterpillar, and then out the other side comes a butterfly, but there is a transformation process. And I know I mentioned just before we started this quantum human with Karen Curry Parker. She mentions in the book, which I found fascinating, was as humans, we actually do have control to an extent over how much we add to the chaos of the transformation. And I think that's a very interesting thing to think about.
Yeah, I think it is. And I think you're right. I think the word we're looking for is like this metamorphosis sort of stage. And it does feel like that at the moment. There's lots of, it feels chaotic because there's a lot of these old structures
Mm.
like breaking down and people are questioning things that we've always previously accepted. And I don't know if you agree with this, but certainly for me, things started coming to the forefront, I think, around 2020 when we had this whole kind of COVID. And I know like people keep bandying it around that, we've got pre-COVID and post-COVID. But I feel like this was like a really big catalyst. And at the same time as COVID going on in the world, I know that that's when you and I kind of came across human design. I've spoken to other people. I'm on my other podcast, I interviewed somebody who really leaned into learning pranic healing. Um, and there's lots of these like other modalities. Like I've always been quite into astrology and moon cycles, but it wasn't mainstream. Like you had to go to kind of like a quirky little, what I would call like a hippie shop when I was a kid. It certainly wasn't on This Morning. And you mentioned, I'm sure it was you a few weeks ago, you said
Yeah,
you
we're
were
talking
watching This
about
Morning.
Mercury retrograde on this morning.
And like that was never a thing pre-COVID. And I can't help feeling like with all of this change, and I know if you're into the sort of woo side of things, there was always a big conversation around the rise of the divine feminine, right? Um, where there was this big shift supposed to happen or start to happen around 2012 in human design. We've got this big human evolution in 2027, which is the mutation of the solar plexus, which is what that book is about, the one that you mentioned. And it does feel like we're in a place of like, it's all very well reading about these evolutionary things. And what was it? A couple of years ago, we had Pluto shifting, which is one of the slow moving planets. And there was a big, we've got this year, we've got a big alignment of like 7 planets occurring. Astrology white, like there's so I'm not an astrologer. I just like, you pick up all of these like little bits and pieces. You had Pluto shifting over the US, which was predicted to be like a really big shift in big structures and like people in charge and things like that. And everyone was a bit like, oh no, we'll see. And now, like, we're in this place now, and you're like, oh, is it a thing? I don't know. Is it just a coincidence? Do we make it happen because we've been told something's going to happen, or we're expecting it, so we're looking for it? Like, what comes first? I don't know.
I don't know. I think there's so many different ways you can look at it, and you can look at, like you said, when you start looking for things, do you make things fit? And I
Mm.
actually wrote a post about this, I think, the other day in terms of astrology. It's like, I know previous years ago when you just sort of had the little astrology thing in the paper, and it's
Yeah,
like, all the star signs, Aquarius, Sagittarius, and people who don't subscribe to it say, well, you just make it fit,
yeah.
right? You're making it fit. But my thought is, are we making it fit, or is it that we are seeing what we needed to see?
Mm-hmm.
So our own filter is looking at this saying, oh, it says my relationship's not great. Oh, well, actually, I've been having lots of arguments with my partner. So maybe, like, you knew you were having lots of arguments with your partner.
Yeah,
Like, if you've been having lots of arguments with your mum, you would, it's like, what is this bringing to the surface, and what is this opening our eyes to? But are they actually directly related? Like, what was happening was happening. And like you said, it's like what comes first. But if you take all the woo out of it, there is no denying there things are not working. Things need to change. Things are being highlighted
yeah,
that, and when you read the human design thing, that changing from the cross of planning to the next one, the Sleeping Phoenix, they're saying that all these systems have grown and grown and grown, but gone too far. And we can see that. We know that. Like the
yeah,
NHS doesn't work anymore. The government doesn't really work anymore. Politics doesn't work anymore. The school system doesn't work
yeah.
anymore. And so, in order for, like I said at the beginning, things to change, things have to change. And again, in this book, Karen was sort of saying about, there will be people who are clinging on resistantly because they don't want change.
Yeah.
And you've got people who are open to the change, and how chaotic it all feels is kind of down to us
Mm.
and how we respond, how we react, and I read a post on Substack last night from a lady who is a human design reader. And she was kind of saying, with all that's going on in the world, sometimes I feel ridiculous for banging on about human design and doing my human design readings. And my reply to her was, well, if we are trying to set as a whole planet, actually one of the most important things, which again it says in that book, is that we as individuals can stay centered, grounded on our own path and not
Yeah.
commit to the chaos. So actually, is this work even more important now than it was, when you could be thinking, oh my God, but how can I be focusing on this when everything's going on?
Yeah.
But maybe it's even more important, because the more people we can get to have self-awareness. Like I've always said, like human design, regardless of whether you believe in it or it's from the stars, is a
Yeah.
great self-awareness tool for
It
our.
really is. And yeah, well, you've just reminded me as well, because I think the work that we do is important. And I think we don't always get these reminders on a regular basis. But I finished with two clients, two coaching clients who I've worked with for a year. So we started in January last year. And I finished with two separate clients, different organizations last week. And our last sessions were a bit of a reflection on like where they were and looking at the journey to where they are today. And I don't always bring human design into, like, explicitly bring it into coaching. Not all of my clients are like buy into it, but obviously I use it from my own awareness with how I interact with people. So I'm always using it, but not quite so explicitly. Like not every client has a reading kind of thing. And both of these clients are not human design clients, but both of those conversations that I had were, the first one was like, you've changed my life, and I've gained so much awareness, self-awareness, and really useful tools that I am now taking and using on the within the team that I'm working with. And some of the strategic side of things, like in terms of conflict management and communication, she's now rolling it out to her team. So like a couple of coaching sessions on my part is now having an impact on wider teams and how those people are being managed, which can then, if they then take those tools and spread them out. So it's like this ripple effect, isn't it? So what we do by raising our awareness and the work that we do, it's having that outward ripple effect on other people.
And I think, you know, we talk about like a moment in the world, there is conflict on a big scale.
Yeah,
But by the work that you can do through looking through your human design and the coaching and just self-awareness, personal development, you are reducing just the level of conflict day to day,
yeah,
the misunderstandings, the miscommunications. And you know, if our nervous systems are already overloaded by what's going on, if we can handle the smaller situations better, we're not going to fly off the handle if somebody cuts us up on the way to the
yeah,
supermarket in the car. And so overall, we might not think we can impact the world stage with what we see playing out. But if overall you can reduce the, you know, it sounds so wooey and fluffy, like, you know, spreading the love. But, you know, if you can have a different, better, more level-headed, grounded interaction,
yeah.
it does spread. And will it spread far enough to kind of, you know, help the whole world, even though it doesn't feel like that? But if every single person individually did the work, would we end up in these situations? There would still be people who were resistant to it, but then, you know, how many people out there, again, not mentioning anything in specific things, where situations occur because somebody's not feeling validated enough or strong enough to use their voice to speak
Yeah,
out. And if so, you know, if this work had been done, are there other situations that may have been avoided or stopped sooner because people had the confidence to use their voice that they could speak up?
yeah,
So it is this, when you look at it, you can sit there thinking, oh my God, like, you know, I'm sitting here banging on about doing a human design reading. But if we believe in the impact of it, we believe in the impact of it, don't we?
yeah. And absolutely. I mean, how many people or how many times have you been in a situation where maybe you weren't in a good place and somebody said something, you've taken it the wrong way and you've reacted, right? I'm pretty sure we've all been in that situation. And at the time, you feel so strongly that you're in the right and you're the one that's been wronged and you've been slighted. Whereas with hindsight, which is a wonderful thing, we can see that actually I probably escalated that situation. It didn't need to have that kind of outcome. And maybe if I'd have been a bit more self-aware, I mean, understand it. I know we've talked about this a few times, but just the emotional wave, like understanding that, oh, do you know what? I'm not in a good place today. So maybe if I communicate that first before I then kind of come piling in, then other people might be a bit more forgiving. Or even just having that awareness, like, oh, I'm not going to react in a good way. I'm just going to remove myself so that I don't say something I regret. Or, but I don't, don't get me wrong, we're not all perfectly in our adult autonomous state all of the time. I think you'd be some kind of psychopath if you weren't. But just having that awareness to be able to remove yourself and go, do you know what? I'm in a bad place today. I don't need this right now, and you don't need me to react like that. I do it with my kids all the time. And because so it's an interesting thing. We have my kids, we talk about it all the time. They're neurodivergent. So we're a neurodivergent family. And we have a lot of my kids have neurodivergent friends, right? And and we have them over. And it's really funny because most of the parents that say or that send their kids over, they're like, oh, careful. I'm like, okay, it's fine. And they always say, your house is so chill. And it never used to be like that. I just think we've gotten better at communicating
Mm.
and not flying off the handle. Like, don't get me wrong, I have a teenage son and he can be just as stroppy as the rest of them. But we don't get the butting of heads because if he's reactive, I don't react to meet him because I realize that actually he's undefined emotionally, I'm defined emotionally. It might be me. So if I know that I'm a bit like, and he reacts at me, I just kind of go, oh, okay. And I'll just say, are you all right there? Is everything all right? And he's like, I have no idea why I reacted like, I'm so sorry. It's like, it's fine. And we move on. We do still have the heightened like voices, but it takes both of us to have that awareness, that pause for him to go, I have no idea why I just reacted like that. I'm like, okay, it's fine. Or if he has had a bad day, because he does have bad days, the same as we all do, he might be like, I need to go and be by myself for a bit. Okay, go and scream into a pillow, punch something, like whatever, get it out of your system, and then we can come back. I know we don't force the communication,
Mm.
because that's when you get the butting heads.
Mm.
So I don't think I'm a better parent than other parents. I just think I'm better at managing myself.
Mm.
And by default, that's modeling it to him. So he has learned how to manage himself and to be able to say, do you know what? I shouldn't have done that. Because one of the hardest things being a parent is feeling like you should have all the answers and you should be doing it all right. And it's my way or the highway because that's how I was parented. But actually just admitting, do you know what? It's new territory. I have no idea what I'm doing.
Yeah, I think breaking those patterns is, I'm seeing a lot of that. Like, I don't actually have children, but all my friends, and everything, there just seems to be much more awareness of what are the longer term consequences and what are the consequences of the language that is used, that how we do things. And I'm I observe a lot and I take in a lot of information and I view patterns and see things. And the more I understand things and the more I'm doing this work, like just when I'm walking around the shopping centre and you've got a child who wants an ice cream
Mm,
and is emotionally not regulated, but they're not, it's almost like, and I'm not saying this is wrong, but the default response is to just shush, stop it, stop crying, stop. And it's like, but as an adult, I know I cannot just turn off my
no, no, you
emotions.
don't turn off like a
I
tap.
can't. If I'm annoyed at something and someone just tells, like, I am an emotional authority, I have an emotional wave. I understand that now. I can't just turn off my emotion. I don't have to react to it. That's the adulting piece. The adulting piece I've learned is not to be reactive, but I can't physically change the emotion until the
No,
emotion has gone.
yeah,
And so, as a child now, with all this knowledge of how human design works, I'm looking at the child going, you're expecting, what if they've got an emotional authority? Like, you're just expecting them to adult and have the ability to not react from the emotion. Like, I'm 48. It's taken me like however many years to
I know, right? And still learning.
um, so now I have so much more empathy for children because, like I said, that historically it's like children are seen and not heard, and this, that, and the other. And so you get all this conflict. And I'm like, but what if it was managed in a different way? Would there then be this whole like grabbing, screaming, pulling people like in supermarkets? Like, how could this all be resolved in a different way? Um, and again, the language that we use, like I wrote a post this morning because again, it was something I saw a clip on Facebook a while ago, and it was a parenting type thing, but it was a lady. I've no idea who it was. It's one of the things, you watch, you scroll, you flick, no idea who the original person was, but was kind of explaining to her child that she was saying like, "Oh my God," like about her sibling. "Oh my God, you're so annoying. Oh my God, you're so loud. You're this." And the parent was trying to explain, say, "No, she's not annoying. You are annoyed. That's a you thing.
Yeah,
Like, you find the behavior she is exhibiting annoying. So you would like her to stop, but don't project and tell her she is annoying
yeah,
because then that language is like, oh my God, I'm annoying, and we internalize.
yeah.
And so again, it's not really necessarily human design related, but if when you understand other people's human design, you get a better picture
Hmm.
that everyone is different, and
Yeah,
some people are loud, and some people are designed to initiate, and some people are quiet. And like, again, we take the behavior and we project it to the person is a something.
yeah,
And it's like, oh, you're so boring. Like I was told I was boring like my whole life as a child. So I have a massive complex about being boring. And now I kind of look like, let's say I look at my humans like, no, I'm a line two. I'm just quieter and I'm not a loud, kind of crazy, maybe, line three going on there, with all that experimentation. And I think so I did a post about that language. Like, actually, if you are finding something too loud, that's telling you something about your needs.
yeah.
Don't project it and turn it into that that person is annoying or that that person is too loud. You don't like loud situations,
Hmm.
and maybe you are not an energetic match, and maybe the situation is loud, but we end up projecting all this stuff onto people, and that again, it just raises more conflict and more
Yeah.
more
Well,
stuff.
you've just reminded me because again, I was scrolling yesterday and I follow Pink
Okay.
because I love that woman. And she's been covering Kelly Clarkson's chat show for the last week and she's brought her kids on. But it's all been the big focus in the build up to International Women's Day yesterday. And she's brought in some like really powerful female guests this week. And one of them was, I think her name is Dr. Shafali, who is an author. I think she's a child psychologist and she's like a family therapist. And she's written these books called Conscious Parenting. And she apparently has been Pink's therapist like since she became a parent. What Pink was saying, and there was this really lovely moment. She was like, "Oh my God," she said, "I had to ring her one day." She said, "I said I've got her on speed dial," and she's like, "Willow's feeling really sad, and I don't know what to do with that because I don't do sad. I'm not a very good person in sad, and like I've all these destructive behaviors and da, 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 da. And like, I don't know how to help her, but I really want to help her." Da, da, da. And Dr. Shafali apparently turned around and said, why are you projecting all of your holes onto her and not just seeing the whole person? And apparently she turned around and went, I don't like you very more anymore. I don't like you very much anymore, and put the phone down. And then obviously basically Dr. Shafali is saying, you're making this about Willow, but it's actually you that is the problem here. Like, why don't you like sad? And so And but Pink was like, she's right every time. She said, because then like the next day I ring her back and go, I'm so sorry, I really love you. Thank you so much. Because we project our feelings and our emotions and our thoughts on how we think things should be and how we should be doing things rather than actually meeting what is in front of us. Like if somebody is feeling like if there is a child or if there is a partner or a friend who's feeling really sad, it's interesting, isn't it? Because I remember when, I mean, I've gone through some particularly big challenges, and I probably, I won't go into it because I don't want to trigger people, but I kept it all inwards because I couldn't deal with other people's grief.
Yeah.
I needed to deal with mine first.
Mm.
And that can feel quite, I probably self isolate in that way because it's like I can deal with my grief and process mine, but I can't deal with you projecting your idea of what grief should be. Like when my mum passed away, oh my God, if one more person asked me which stage of grief I was in, I was ready to lump them because it's like it's not linear. And actually, I think I've done a podcast on grief and with an expert on grief. And she was saying, do you know that whole kind of 7 stages of grief was never created about the grieving process. It was I can't remember. You'd have to listen to the podcast now to tell because we recorded it a couple of years ago now. But it was something completely unrelated, and then somebody's thought picked that up and gone, oh yeah, that sounds like it fits. A bit like the Blue Monday thing, right?
Oh, the marketing thing from the
Which is
travel
just the
agent.
marketing ploy. It's like, oh well, somebody needs an answer. That sounds about right. We'll put that there. And now everybody's got this like 7 stages of grief thing, which is not even a real thing.
Yeah, I think
Bonkers.
what you said about the projecting onto people, I have found my whole life that people gravitate towards me when they're going through something.
Mm,
And I didn't really understand it. And I used to feel again, this is now understanding my own human design chart has helped me to understand a lot of these behaviors and my own strengths and weaknesses and what I bring and what people energetically experience when they're around me. And it's explained a lot of the behaviors, but because people would kind of come into my world or people that were on the periphery of my world all of a sudden seem to be drawn to me because they're going through something. And I was like, I would help them with it. And then they'd like disappear. I'd never hear from them again. And I used to feel quite rejected and quite
yeah.
sensitive about this. But then I remember one of my clients, this was like one of my first clients years ago. When I did the sessions in person and they would, come to my house. She turned up and she just like tiraded this thing all about her husband and this and that. And I just went, okay. And then just kind of calm. And she went, I just literally just like told you all this stuff and you haven't even reacted. And I was like, well, no, like I don't know. And like you said, I don't tend to react when people tell me outrageous, bonkers, crazy
Yeah.
things. I kind of absorb it all and go, okay. And so I realized that people do feel safe. I anchor them, I ground them
Yeah.
because I know, especially I've got a friend and she goes, so she's like, oh my God, like I can't talk to my sister because as soon as she talks to her sister goes,
Yeah.
and like you said, she's like, I can't process your stuff and my stuff.
Yeah.
Actually, like I kind of knew and recognized that as a pattern, but then when I started looking at stuff in my human design, I was like, oh, it kind of explains.
And that is the defined emotional center, isn't it? Because we can separate our own stuff and we have our own wave. We're not generally impacted by other people.
And also, I've got 7 of the 9 centers defined.
Mm,
So I'm not really absorbing a lot of the stuff
no.
and amplifying it back.
Yeah.
I'm kind of quite grounded in my own energy.
Mm,
And I also don't really have much of the emotional side activated in the chart. I have more of the logical side
mm,
activated in the chart. So, like I said, it's not really necessarily human design based, but I think all of these things, if you do start understanding your place in the world, which is what,
yeah,
then the ripple effect is real. It helps. It does make a difference. And I think there might be, a lot of people out there thinking, well, what can I do right now? The biggest thing you can do is work on yourself.
yeah,
And and by doing that, it does have a ripple effect. And human design is one way
yeah,
that you can create that self-awareness and have a greater awareness of those around you and not add to the cumulative noise
yeah.
and stress and things.
That's it. It's about leaning into your own kind of strengths and your gifts, I think, and not getting swept up by the energy of others. So I think it's very easy, like with only four centers defined. It's one of the reasons I've taken such a massive step back from social media because I realized that I can get swept up in other people's thoughts and ideas, and I need that kind of distance to be able to stay in my energy. And, some people might think, oh, are you not just disassociating? No, I don't think it is. I think I'm still aware of what's going on. Don't get me wrong. I don't live in a total bubble, but it comes down to choice again, doesn't it? I can't control everybody else and how people react and what people say, but I can control how I respond. And I am a generator type. So I can choose. I don't have to respond to everything. And I think definitely when I first started my business, I got very caught up with I should be responding. I wanted to respond to everything, but then you end up burning out. And just because generator types who are energy types doesn't mean you don't burn out. So now I'm just, again, it comes again down to that discernment, isn't it? I can choose what I respond to, I can choose what to take and what to let go of. And I think that awareness of my energy, that clearer awareness of what works and what doesn't work for me, has allowed me to feel more confident in my choices, in the choices that I make.
Yeah, and I think if you want to go woo the collective energy field, the frequency of the planet,
Yeah.
then if you want to kind of go to that level of it all, the more we can ground and calm everything down, that does have a ripple effect. I mean, some people might not want to see it that way. It might be a little bit too woo, but everything is energy. And
Everything
there
is
is
energy.
everything is energy. That's a fact. You can ask scientists about that.
Yeah. Well, this is the fascinating thing, isn't it? Because for those of you who are into the quantum physics sort of sciencey side of things, we have like the planet has a magnetic field, and there are scientists out there measuring it with something called the Schumann resonance. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
And it measures the frequency. And they've done experiments where they've tried to engage, like big experiments where they've tried to engage lots of people signing in and doing like meditation, like simultaneous meditation around the world, and looking at how it impacts the magnetic frequency of the earth. It's amazing. Solar flares, when the sun has its solar flares, like we are now aware, because so much of our world is technology, we now get impacted. Like internet goes down for no reason, we have energy surges and blackouts and things like that because so much of our world is like energy. The solar flares impact our technology in the world. the radiation hitting the earth affects things, we are also energy. So we're now more aware of how those things impact us. So if we have a day where you might have done this, you think, God, I'm really tired and I have no idea why. I used to just go, oh, I must have just done this. And I kind of blame myself. Now I actually go and look at the Schumann resonance, or I look and see what's happened solar flare wise. I'm like, oh, that wasn't me. I'm tired. It's the impact of whatever's happening. Like, we are so much more than just our everyday and what's going on.
Yeah, maybe that can be another topic for another a thing going into the quantum world. I did spend yesterday reading lots of articles on my New Scientist subscription
Oh, I would love to know that. Yeah,
about the
let's do it.
quantum stuff. But yeah, shall we end it here for today?
Yeah, brilliant.
Thank you for listening, watching. You can come find us, all the links below. We'd love to hear your thoughts. But I suppose the message of today, what we're saying is, as an individual, if you're feeling like you can't make a difference in the world, we're saying you can.
Absolutely.
Bye.